Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining another episode of IndiCast. Today, I'm going to be talking in continuation of the previous episode because I spoke about an issue related to what, in my view, is the fracturing of the international order, the sort of post World War II international order that we live in. A dominant view nowadays is that obviously the world is churning, international orders, institutions are churning, and great powers in the world are hedging for their next sort of bet. And there is no better day to talk about an issue like this than today, 26th January, because today the Republic Day parade just concluded in Delhi with Ursula von der Leyen. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. The president of the European Commission is in Delhi today. She was the chief guest, along with other dignitaries from the EU. And the reading from that is that obviously, like I said in my previous episode, EU will try to sort of come closer to countries in the Asia Pacific region, especially India, which has some economic might to it. And that would sort of add to this global posturing against the domination of great powers. We are also talking in times where the World Economic Forum just concluded, and one of the really popular moments from the WEF was the speech given by the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney. And the entire speech was sort of a gentle, stylish sort of protest against this domination and the bullying by great powers. As we all know, EU countries and other powers in the world have not been very pleased with the American comments about Greenland. There have also been issues about the lifting of Maduro from Venezuela. So, at a time like that, both Carney and Macron went on the stage and expressed a great protest against the sort of big power domination that the world is seeing today. Where that leaves India, in my view, is that we have an opportunity, like I said last episode also, to create very bold economic reforms domestically. To do that requires something that couldn't have come at a better time, because we are almost in the midst of announcement of a historic trade deal with the Europeans, which has been 18 years in the making. And if it happens in a way that is implemented successfully, it means a great relief will come in the automobile sector. It means a huge relief will come in the textile sector, and it means that it will also create a relief in the wines and spirits area, an area where India has recently been doing quite well. These two, three sectoral reforms can push job creation in India massively. Now, I have sort of grown to appreciate the view by prominent journalist Shekhar Gupta that the bullying of the Americans to sort of get India to come on board with bolder trade reforms, because the Americans kept bullying India with tariffs, etc., etc., that has actually pushed us to create some domestic economic reforms in India. Now, I'm not saying that we should thank Donald Trump, but I do think that this international crisis has put us in a position of creating bold economic reforms when our bureaucracy internally had gotten very risk averse. And risk aversion, is very, very poor strategy when it comes to policy making. If, in fact, we do end up signing this free trade agreement, which all the evidence says that it's about to be released, the details will follow very soon, we will see such major relief in automobile, textiles, other areas, that it will solve another major problem in India, which is job creation. We know we divorce this from foreign policy a lot, but in India, we know that employment has been a crisis. The evidence is in, for example, the release of one small police constable post will have some thousands and thousands of applicants in every state. That reflects very poorly on the quality and the quantity of employment available. So we needed to solve this domestic problem, but maybe at some point our public policy thinkers were not creative enough to solve this with some external economic reform also. See, the creation of a easy trade architecture and a easier ease of doing business infrastructure in the country is not just going to profit corporates, it is going to solve some of our most basic problems like long term sustainable job creation. To add to that, if we are able to create an ease of doing business metric which is better than our present one, we will also be attracting a lot of foreign inflows. That in a country like India, where currency nationalism plays such a huge deal, will be a major win. Lately, we've been very disappointed that against the dollar, the rupee has been depreciating. And the only real way to counter that would be to sustain a environment where you can keep getting some foreign inflows. I think that this could be a historic moment for our economy. Reform is not a process that has to end once and for all after one solid moment of reform. It's a continuous process of regular sort of cutting of some, regulatory processes, and it's a regular process of upkeep. It's almost like a human body. You have to keep getting regular checkups. So if India is standing at the crossroads before a major free trade agreement with the EU, it is going to be a transformative moment. I forecast and I sort of hope also. It is going to be a transformative moment for the EU as well. It's been 18 years in the making, so it's clearly well thought out. At one point, you have some of the most high income countries in the world and marrying one of the largest economies of the world. The outcome of it could be creating a major non aligned economic powerhouse. Because if we relate this entire trade and economic jargon to foreign policy, what Mark Carney and Emmanuel Macron have basically been saying is hinting at this sort of rebirth of a non aligned movement where at least dialogue is primary and where institutions function before anything else. And there is a degree of resilience in those institutions. So, if we marry these two major economic powerhouses together, and if we do some sustained institutional building, I think we could be standing at a great moment for reform in India and some power realignments for Europe. I still do think that India will never take a blatantly anti American stance. Like I said, Indian foreign policy is very, very non aligned to the core, to the extent that it has many times frustrated some of our best friends around the globe. My view is that India will flirt with the European market still as long as it can, and we will try to be as diplomatic and distant from any of these Greenland, Venezuelan affairs, and we will always try to push our strategic advantage to any major world power in the globe. I think that's a smart hedge, but that also leads you to make a lot of enemies as we have lately. That also attracted the frustration of US President Donald Trump. It attracted the frustration of US Commerce Secretary Mr. Lutnick. And I think the Americans at some point started realizing that. And that is why you have today Sergio Gore, who is the new US ambassador to India, who has a pretty decent, deep personal relationship directly with President Trump, doing a lot of damage control. Today, I am saying that we are realigning ourselves and going closer to the EU, but it doesn't change the fact that the US Secretary of Army was in Delhi and in India a few days back, and he was also meeting Indian defense officials, and Sergio Gore has been traveling deeply within the country, doing some amount of rebuilding of ties and damage control. So it's too quick to say that our US relationship has damaged too much, but I do think that a sustained long term trade deal with the Europeans could benefit our domestic economy. It could push a lot of our domestic problems to be solved, which we have not been able to solve internally with domestic reforms. And I think in the longer term, it could definitely help India capture some of its economic potential and then finally allow us to become a major foreign policy player, which is even sort of partially proportionate to our ambition. I hope I didn't lose your trail of thought with too much jargon. I just want to say that this is an opportunity to make historical reforms that can make a churn work for you. A churn is always a difficult period, but it doesn't mean it has to damage you. Sometimes the demolition of some things could be creative demolition also. So a good churn can help us build better institutions, build better relationships, and advertise the non-alignment movement related foreign policy that has been promoted in India for decades now. Thank you for joining. Please give me feedback. Please like, share, subscribe, and keep interacting with my channel. And I will hope to do another episode very soon with my brother who's been absent from this platform because of work and other commitments. Thank you. Thank you for joining.